Hey, I'm the industry.
Hey yo, I'm the academia.
I'm all those businesses that tend on technology.
Whatever. And I'm all those universities, colleges, and vocational training.
I represent the small, medium, and large enterprises that either develop, deploy, or use IT solutions to drive Pakistan's entire economy.
I represent the 90 million youth who are in the education system and all those who you aren't capitalizing on.
Did you say 90 million?
We've got power in numbers and you don't know what to do with us.
We're always looking for fresh grads. How come we can't even find one?
Even if you're looking hard enough, you're not looking long enough or in the right places. You lose interest in even investing enough.
But we don't know who you are. Eh?
Huh?
Wait a second, are we?
Saying the same thing? Yes, yes.
Campus Conversations. Bridging the gap. Log on to www.ciopakistan.com for more details.
Well, basically HCI is a study of how humans interact with computers and how to make it easy for them to use, how to make the entire ecosystem easy for them to use. It could do with anything, the ergonomics or the ease of use and how adaptable it can be, how to get over barriers and how you can overcome those barriers to make it easier for people to use, because there are many factors which make systems a failure. And you have to make sure that you can minimize the risk of the systems failing. Well, you could be correct because it's limitless, because it could be anything. It could be a device, it could be an aircraft, it could be how an entire system is devised, how a process is done. Because if you do a certain process and if you don't do it right, then it could lead to certain factors which would lead it to implode or to make the system go down. System necessarily does not mean it's a machine. It's how the whole environment around us works. In order to do that, you would have to investigate the system and to see what the flaws are, to interview certain people within the system, to see how they feel about certain functions within, to see list and see how easy it is for them to use those functions within a system, and just come up with ways to make it minimize the problems for them, to make it an effortless thing. For example, if something could be done within 6 or 7 steps, you could minimize it to 3 steps to make it easier without making the system fail. If I were to work for NASA and if I were to, you remember the design of the space shuttle for the Challenger and Columbia, if they had minimized risks and if they had gone through the entire process, they would not have had those problems with those shuttles, disintegrating or blowing up. Yeah, increasing business functionality to make it easier, because the more time you spend on a system, the more time you invest on it, and because there are plenty of ways to go about it. I mean, the ways to simplify it and to write down the steps which you could take to do something. For example, if you were to make a cup of tea, you would list down all the steps it would take to make a cup of tea. But if you were to keep adding more functions and more pathways, to take alternates, it would take longer. But the best way would be to make an effective step-by-step chart on how you could do that. So if you don't plan everything, if you don't have a plan for something, it would go wrong. A lot of businesses do not have a plan when they do a system. They do not have a manual on what to do. So that has to do a bit with systems analysis. They just do something without letting other people know about it, because it's something for the future users, so they don't know how to get along with it. If you don't plan without thinking, then it could lead to problems. First of all, you will have users who will be they'll feel alienated, they won't understand the system. You have to get their support before you can do it, because not everybody is able to understand a complicated design. The key is to make it so user-friendly and to make sure that it does not fail. It could be easy for an average Joe to use it and not go, and it would not require too much of training for them to do. Systems analysts, basically, they just plan a system, they just look at the functions, they design the system and do everything. But systems analyst is basically a subset of HCI. It does not incorporate the whole thing. HCI looks at the overall factors. They can go into it in depth, because when a systems analyst has a lot of pressure to finish his project on time and to do it with, has a few goals to accomplish, HCI looks at the overall science of how it can be done, because I think it's relatively new here. Nobody incorporates this in their work, but when they don't realize that if something goes wrong with the system, it could lead to massive losses or failures. Basically, a HCI person is more like a risk analyst to make sure that there's less risk involved in deploying a system before it goes up ahead. They just do the preliminary legwork to get everything right. But this could only be done with organizations who have time on their hands before they decide to see if they could take up a certain project or not. That is, after my job is done, that is where the system analyst comes in. Well, they would hire a company like Airbus, Boeing would hire me, people who are designing systems for traffic works or stuff. Organization like Nokia could hire a person like that, because they make systems which are supposed to be phones which are supposed to be user friendly. I don't think anybody would want to use a phone which is not user friendly. I mean, the ways that you just go simply into the menu. If you use Nokia, you have to navigate to certain items, and it's not that friendly. And I don't think an ordinary person would understand it. If they were to simplify it like Apple has done, I think Apple has done a good job incorporating their multi-touch system and to make it user friendly for people. So, because they have big units and they have spent a lot of money on research and development, Microsoft would probably do that to test a product to see how easy it is for people to use. Like Office 2003 was quite user friendly, but ironically 2007, even if they have simple buttons, but it takes people some time to get used to it. I think it's a loose term, you could go with anything, because I don't claim to be an expert on this, but I understand this quite well, because if you have something in front of you, you try to point out the flaws in it and to try to see what sort of barriers are holding it. I think I could just say I'm HCI novice, maybe. I'm just I can't claim to be something I'm not, but I know that I'm on the right track. Well, I see that I could probably do a lot for a business who invests in big systems. I feel that I could use my knowledge to help them, because I feel that I'm a bit perceptive and I understand how these things are. I could lend my knowledge to improving something and to work towards a project or something and see if I can get the best out of it. I know that I'm a good learner. I pick up things really fast, and technology is my favorite part of my life, and I'm quite attuned to it. So it would not take me long to learn something. It would definitely benefit them, because this is something which has not been explored. If people were to go into this a bit more, it would help them in the long term. So this is a science which should be studied in detail. It should not be ignored.